Welcome to our brand new guide to TOEFL speaking question number 4, the last TOEFL speaking question. Now, this is a updated version of the TOEFL speaking. If you haven't heard, the TOEFL test has changed. As of August 1st, 2019, the TOEFL speaking section is different, and the question numbers are different than they used to be. So we're going to talk about not only the changes, but a lot of things about TOEFL speaking question number 4. The first thing I want to do is just go through a quick outline of what we're going to do together. So first we're going to take a question walkthrough of a speaking question number 4. We're going to do a note-taking strategy, show you how to take notes for this question. I'm going to show you a speaking template so you know how to answer the question. I'm going to give you an example response so you can actually see this in action. I'm going to give you a grading checklist so you actually can grade your own speaking at home. I'm going to give you 4 exclusive tips and tricks that that'll help you for speaking question number 4. And finally, a complete TOEFL test so you can practice this at home. My name is Josh McPherson. I am the head instructor at TST Prep, an online TOEFL school, where our mission is simple: to help you get the TOEFL score you need as quickly and easily as possible. And today, it's all about TOEFL speaking question number 4, so let's get right into it. Now, a lot to talk about. First thing is the changes, really fast. In the past, there were 6 speaking questions. Now, there are 4 speaking questions, 1 independent question and 3 integrated questions. If this question number 4 looks familiar, it's because it's exactly the same, not exactly, but just about the same as speaking question number 6 before. Okay, so not much has changed, just that they cut 2 speaking questions. Now, so what does question number 4 look like? So it's a lecture. It's about an academic topic. And there's no reading passage, only a listening passage. The professor will speak about the topic for about 2 or 3 minutes. After the lecture, you'll have 20 seconds to prepare your response, and then you will have to speak for 60 seconds. And then, woohoo! You are all done with the TOEFL speaking section. So this is the last question that you have to do. Now, an important thing to remember here is that you want to think like a teacher. You want to imagine that you're explaining a topic to a child. Now, this doesn't make a lot of sense right now, but we're going to talk about this question more. But basically, the lecture is going to be about a topic that you probably don't know about. All right? And that's okay that you don't know about it. You have to imagine that you have to listen, and then you have to explain this topic to somebody else, pretty much. And you have to try to explain it in an even simpler way than the listening. That's how you should be thinking, that you're a teacher and you're going to try to teach somebody about this topic. And a child is, I say a child because we usually talk a little more enthusiasm, a little bit nicer, a little bit kinder when we talk to children. So that's what your goal is here. Now, here's what you're going to look for. You're going to try to identify and define the topic, whatever the topic is. We're going to talk about that. In the lecture, they're probably going to give 2 examples of the topic in action, and I'll explain this more in a minute. And then add details to those examples. The more details you can include, the better. And then you report and elaborate on the topic. You talk about the topic a little bit more if you have extra time. So, a lot of the questions have to do with these 4 topics: biology, psychology, business, history, and art. Not a lot of chemistry, not a lot of physics. There's other topics that are not very often included in the TOEFL speaking questions. Most of the time, the academic lectures are one of these 4. But it's really impossible to predict what the passage will be about. Okay, so imagine that you're not going to know what the topic is, and that's okay. The TOEFL does not expect you to know about the topic. This is a language test, not an academic topic test. All right, so don't worry about that. Now, it does not matter if you know about the topic yet. So just like I said, it's a language test, not a test to how much you know about biology. So don't worry if you don't know about the topic. Now, here's an example of a question. This is from an archaeology class, kind of similar to history. Using points and examples from the talk, describe how museums preserve artifacts. So a lot of times the questions will look like this, that they'll ask you, using points and examples from the talk, explain the topic. whatever the topic is. And they usually say the topic again in the question. The question comes after the listening, so even if you didn't really understand the topic of the listening, they usually say it in the question. So keep an eye out for that. Now, here's an example of the transcript of an audio passage. We have a free test that you can download in the description, and you can see this and you can hear this passage. If you would like, you can actually pause this video and practice this on your own, no problem. But I'm going to keep talking about it right now. And so this is an example. You don't have to read it now. I just want to share it with you. And what I did was that I write down my notes. Okay, so I have to take notes about this. Now, what am I looking for? I'm looking for the topic and any definition or details about the topic. And then I'm looking for 2 examples about that topic, whatever it is. So let's see this in the actual listening passage. So this is the first 2 paragraphs, the first half of it. They say it right in the beginning, preservation of archaeological artifacts. Sometimes they say it in the beginning, sometimes they say it a little bit later, but usually in the first 20 or 30 seconds, they say the topic. And they usually define it pretty quickly because it's a short passage and they need to give you some information about it. So usually they talk about the topic very quickly. And then, so preservation of archaeological artifacts, creating the ideal conditions. And then the 2 examples, the 2 subtopics here, are temperature and relative humidity. So how the temperature and the relative humidity are important for preserving archaeological artifacts. So the first one is maintaining a stable temperature. And then I try to listen for some details about temperature. And I highlighted in green some of those details. You don't have to write all this out. You can stop this and look at this more deeply, but I just wanted to show you an example so you can see what I'm listening for. And then again, I underline relative humidity in blue, the next part, humidity. And I try to listen to some important details about humidity. These are my notes. Your notes don't have to look like this. This is a lot of notes. Again, I understand these notes. That's most important. You don't have to understand them. I understand them. But let me just show you really quickly that the topic is preserving artifacts and they deteriorate slower, and that's pretty much connected to temperature and relative humidity. And so I can understand these and I can read the rest of them. I use symbols. I mostly use consonants. So I encourage you guys to do the same when you take the test. Okay. Now, when you're preparing for your response, remember that you want to introduce and define the topic. You want to state, and I'm going to show you how to do this in a minute, so don't worry if you don't understand this. I'm going to give you an example in 1 minute. You're going to state and expand the first example, state and expand the second example, and then wrap it up with a conclusion. Pretty simple. So here's an example of a template that you can use. I'm going to show you an example of this, so don't worry about it too much right now, but definitely you can pause the video and look at this on your own. And I also included the content, what you should include there, and also the time, so you know about how long it should take to do each part of this template. All right, so now here's the template in action. Now again, I worked on this. I tried to perfect it for this video, so don't worry if yours is not like this. It's not going to be like this. No problem. All right, here we go. The professor goes into a ton of detail about the preservation of artifacts in museums, which helps slow down the deterioration process. After introducing, so in the beginning, I define the topic. And then I start talking about the subtopics, the examples or the reasons or the aspects of the topic. After introducing the topic, the lecturer mentions that, and then I say what? A stable temperature is key. Materials like paper and wood dry out easily if the temperature changes too drastically, which is why most museums keep the temperature between 68 to 72 degrees. So that's that, and you can read the rest of this as well, but you get the idea of how it should sound. Okay, so again, try not to read your notes. Use them to speak from memory. I'm going to give this tip again in a couple minutes, so I will say this twice, but I just want you to know that when you read, you are not speaking the same way you would if you were looking in somebody's eyes, okay? Reading does not you don't speak the same way that you would in a conversation when you read. So be careful when you're reading your notes for this question. All right, so now how do you actually check your speaking? So this is the grading rubric that's going to help you. First is the ETS criteria. This is according to the company that makes the TOEFL. There are 3 sections, actually 4 sections, but the first one, general description, is pretty general. So delivery is number 2, which is how you speak. You speak in a calm and cool and natural manner. Language use, you speak with good vocabulary and you change the grammar structure. And topic development, the last one. You followed a structure, you began with the topic and definition, you showed some examples and wrapped it up with a conclusion. So you had good structure pretty much. Here's a checklist for you to use that you can use on your own. The first one is, did you speak for 57 to 60 seconds? You want to try to get to that 58, 59 second mark. That's the really magic number. Hard to do, hard to get used to, but that's what your goal is. Was my introduction 15 seconds or less? Try to have a pretty quick introduction, and by introduction I mean you introduce the topic and you define the topic. Did I have enough time to include a short conclusion? A conclusion is not necessary exactly, but it's a good thing to have if you have it. Did I look at the clock to monitor my time at least twice? So the clock is your friend. It's there to help you know, I need to speak faster, I need to speak slower, I need to move on. It's going to help you pace yourself. So use the clock to your advantage. Did I include at least 2 transitional words? So these are phrases like in the reading passage, according to the listening, in conclusion, in sum. Those are all transitional phrases. So try to use those in your response. Did I speak at a smooth and even pace? So you don't say, like, okay, so you don't say that too much, right? You try to speak smooth and even. Avoid the robot voice. Speak naturally and conversationally. Please don't say, according to the reading passage, or no, I'm sorry, this is just the listening. So, according to the listening, the professor says that. No, speak naturally. According to the listening, the professor says that. Try to speak in a natural, friendly way. And did you include all the essential information? This is the last question, number 8, from the reading and listening. Make sure you included all of that important information from there. Okay, now, final tips. Make sure you develop a positive inner coach. Now, what on earth does that mean? That means basically that this is a little different than actual question 4 strategy. This is more about having a speaking to yourself well. So a lot of times the voice in our head is pretty negative. Oh, this is so stupid. I shouldn't have said this. Why did I say that? We want to speak, or we want to have a voice inside of our head that's a bit more positive, okay? That says, you didn't do that well here, but you can do better next time. I know it sounds kind of silly, and I know it sounds difficult to do, but definitely trying to have a voice in your head that's positive is going to help you improve much more than a negative voice. Speak with interest and enthusiasm. Pretend you love this topic, whatever the topic. Preserving museum artifacts. Oh boy! Be excited about it. Be interested in it, and that'll help your response. Record your responses as always. Recording your response and listening to it. I know you hate the sound of your own voice. Everybody does. But get used to it, because that's really what's going to help you improve on your weaknesses. Don't read your notes yet. Try to avoid reading your notes as well, because your reading voice is different than your speaking voice. When you're looking somebody in the eye and talking, you speak differently than when you read. Okay? So that's it for the last tips for speaking question number 4. Don't forget to download the complete test somewhere in the description there. You can practice these at home. You're going to learn a lot more from practicing. Check out our site, tsdprep.com. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for listening, and yeah, I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next video. All right, take care. Bye-bye.